On an ordinary Tuesday morning in Manhattan, James Carter typed 3 words that weren't meant for the world. Just 3 words, typed in a distracted heartbeat, meant only for his 7-year-old son waiting at home. I miss you. 1 second of inattention, 1 tap, and the message landed somewhere it should never have gone, straight into the inbox of Victoria Hayes, the CEO. The woman who'd fired a senior manager for being 2 minutes late to a board meeting. Before James could undo it, his screen flashed 1 word: red. His chest tightened. Then, across the open-plan office floor, her door opened. Victoria crossed the floor in complete silence. Every head turned. Every conversation died mid-sentence. The entire office held its breath. She moved with the kind of precision that made grown men rehearse their elevator pitches in the mirror. Charcoal suit, tailored to perfection. Dark hair pulled back so tightly it seemed to sharpen her features. No expression, no warmth, just that unblinking gaze that had made quarterly reviews feel like interrogations. She stopped at his desk, leaned down, close enough that he could smell her perfume, something expensive, something cold. And then she whispered, just loud enough for him to hear, "Say it again." James kept his head down, his fingers frozen over the keys. His heart hammered so hard he thought everyone could hear it. Victoria Hayes stood less than a foot away, still leaning in, her expression unreadable. Around them, the office had gone silent. No typing, no phone calls, even the air conditioning seemed louder than it should have been. He forced himself to look up. Her eyes were sharp, unyielding, the kind of gaze that had made senior analysts stammer and stumble. There was no warmth in her face, no hint of amusement, just that unblinking stare and the faint curve of her lips that could have meant absolutely anything. "Miss Hayes, James started, but his voice came out hoarse. He cleared his throat and tried again. "That message wasn't meant for you. I'm sorry. It was an accident." She straightened, adjusted the cuff of her sleeve with deliberate slowness. Her eyes never left his. For a moment, he thought she might fire him right there, right in front of everyone. That was her style: swift, public, efficient. She'd let go of a senior analyst last month for missing a deadline by 30 minutes. "An accident," Victoria repeated, her tone flat. She glanced at his phone, still face up on the desk, the screen now dark. Then she looked back at him. "Interesting." She turned and walked back toward her office without another word. The click of her heels against the polished floor was the only sound in the entire room. James exhaled. He hadn't realized he'd been holding his breath. Around him, heads began to turn back to their monitors, but he could feel it, the weight of their curiosity pressing down on him like a physical thing. His phone buzzed, a message from his son, Oliver. "Dad, when are you coming home?" Guilt twisted in his chest. Oliver was 7 years old, small for his age, with a gap between his front teeth and a habit of asking questions James didn't always know how to answer. He'd been staying with the neighbor, Mrs. Brennan, since 6:30 that morning. James had promised him pancakes for breakfast, but there hadn't been time. There was never enough time. He typed back quickly, "Soon, buddy. Love you." Then he set the phone face down and tried to focus on the spreadsheet in front of him. The numbers blurred together. He rubbed his eyes, then glanced toward Victoria's office. The blinds were drawn. He had no idea what she was thinking, what she planned to do. Maybe nothing. Maybe she'd let it go. Or maybe she was drafting an email to HR right now. Unprofessional conduct, misuse of company communication systems, something that would stick. By lunch, the whispers had started. He heard them in the break room, saw the sidelong glances as he walked past the cubicles near the West Wing. He kept his expression neutral, his steps measured, but inside his mind was racing. He'd worked too hard to lose this job. The salary wasn't spectacular, but it was stable. It covered rent, daycare, groceries, the occasional doctor's visit when Oliver got sick. Losing it would mean starting over, and he couldn't afford that. Not now. Ryan Fletcher was the first to say something out loud. He leaned against the counter near the coffee machine, arms crossed, a smirk playing at the corner of his mouth. Ryan was younger than James by a few years, sharp-featured, always dressed just a little too well for a mid-level position. He'd joined the company 8 months ago and had been angling for a promotion ever since. "So," Ryan said, his voice carrying just enough to be heard by the 3 other people in the break room, "what did you say to her?" James poured his coffee without looking up. "Nothing." "Come on, man. She doesn't just walk over to someone's desk like that for nothing." Ryan grinned, but there was no humor in it. "You two got something going on?" James turned, meeting his gaze directly. "No." Ryan raised his hands in mock surrender. "Hey, I'm just saying, people are curious. She's never spoken to any of us like that. Makes you wonder." James didn't respond. He took his coffee and walked out, leaving Ryan's laughter trailing behind him. The rest of the day passed in a haze of half-finished tasks and mounting anxiety. Every time his phone buzzed, he checked it, hoping it was just Oliver, dreading that it might be HR. By 5 o'clock, his shoulders ached from tension, his eyes burned from staring at the screen. He packed up quickly, grabbed his jacket, and headed for the elevator. The ride down was silent except for the low hum of the machinery. When the doors opened, he stepped out into the lobby and nearly collided with someone. Victoria Hayes. She stood just outside the elevator bay, her coat draped over one arm, her expression as unreadable as it was that morning. For a second, neither of them moved. Then she stepped aside, gesturing for him to pass. "Mr. Carter." He stopped. "Yes?" She looked at him, really looked at him, and for the first time she saw something other than cold efficiency in her eyes. It was brief, almost imperceptible, but it was there. Curiosity, maybe, or something else. "Next time," she said, her voice low enough for no one else to hear, "be more careful who you text." Then she walked past him, out through the glass doors and into the fading daylight.
James stood there for a long moment, trying to make sense of what had just happened. But there was no sense to be made. He shook his head, pushed through the doors, and headed for the parking lot. Oliver was waiting for him when he got home, sitting cross-legged on the couch with a drawing pad balanced on his knees. The neighbor had left a note on the counter. He ate, behaved, see you tomorrow. James folded the note and slipped it into his pocket, then sat down beside his son. "What are you drawing?" he asked. Oliver held up the paper. It was a house, lopsided and colorful. 2 stick figures standing in front of it, one tall, one small. "That's us," Oliver said, pointing to each figure in turn. "You and me." James smiled, pulling him close. "Yeah, buddy, that's us." For a few minutes, the world outside didn't matter. The whispers, the stares, the cryptic words from Victoria Hayes, all of it faded. But later, after Oliver had gone to bed, James sat alone in the kitchen with a cold cup of coffee and the nagging feeling that something had shifted. He didn't know what it was or what it meant, but he knew one thing for certain. Tomorrow, the whispers would be louder. The whispers were louder the next morning. James felt them before he even reached his desk. Eyes tracked him across the floor. Conversations stopped mid-sentence as he passed, then resumed in hushed tones the moment he was out of earshot. He set his bag down, logged into his computer, and tried to ignore the weight of it all. By mid-morning, the rumors had taken shape. Someone had seen Victoria speak to him in the lobby. Someone else swore she'd smiled at him, which was impossible because Victoria Hayes didn't smile. A third person claimed they'd been texting back and forth for weeks, that the message yesterday wasn't an accident at all. At lunch, he ate alone in his car. It was easier that way. No questions, no stares, no need to pretend everything was fine. When he returned to his desk, there was a note stuck to his monitor, handwritten, unsigned. "Careful who you get close to. Some people don't deserve the attention." He crumpled it and tossed it in the trash without a second thought. But the message stayed with him, a splinter lodged somewhere he couldn't reach. Ryan Fletcher appeared at his cubicle just before 3. He leaned against the partition, arms crossed, that same smirk from yesterday still fixed on his face. "Heard you had another run-in with the boss," Ryan said casually, as if they were discussing the weather. "Lobby, right after work." James didn't answer. He turned back to his screen, hoping Ryan would take the hint and leave. He didn't. "Look, man, I'm just trying to help," Ryan continued, his tone shifting to something that might have sounded sincere to someone who didn't know better. "People are talking, you know how it is. Once the gossip starts, it's hard to stop, and if it gets back to her that people think you two have something going on, that's not going to end well for you." James's jaw tightened. He saved his work, then turned to face Ryan fully. "There's nothing going on. I sent a text to the wrong person, that's it." Ryan raised an eyebrow. "Sure, but does everyone else believe that?" Before James could respond, Ryan straightened and glanced toward the executive wing. "Just saying, you might want to watch your back. People get jealous when they think someone's getting special treatment, especially when that someone is you." That evening, Oliver was quieter than usual. He sat at the kitchen table, poking at his dinner with a fork, his eyes distant. James watched him for a moment, then set down his own fork and leaned forward. "What's wrong, bud?" Oliver shrugged, still staring at his plate. "Mrs. Brennan asked if you were okay." James frowned. "Why would she ask that?" "I don't know. She said you seemed tired." Oliver finally looked up, his eyes wide and serious. "Are you okay, Dad?" James forced a smile. "Yeah, I'm okay. Just a lot going on at work right now, but it's nothing you need to worry about." Oliver didn't look convinced, but he nodded and went back to his dinner. James watched him, guilt twisting in his chest. He'd always tried to shield Oliver from the harder parts of life, the stress, the uncertainty, but kids were perceptive. They picked up on things, even when you tried to hide them. Later, after Oliver had gone to bed, James sat on the couch with his laptop open, staring at the half-finished report on his screen. His phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. He hesitated, then opened it. "Stop making yourself look pathetic. Nobody believes you." He stared at the screen, his pulse quickening. He didn't recognize the number, didn't know who had sent it, but the message was clear. Someone was watching him, someone who wanted him to know the rumors weren't going to stop. The next day, the tension escalated. James arrived at work to find his desk slightly rearranged. Nothing major, just small things moved out of place. His stapler on the wrong side, his notepad turned at an odd angle. It could have been the cleaning crew, but he doubted it. Someone had been here, someone who wanted him to know. At 10, he had a meeting with his team to review the quarterly report. Ryan was there, along with 3 others. The meeting should have been routine, but Ryan spent most of it subtly undermining James's work, pointing out minor inconsistencies, questioning his methodology. It was all framed as constructive criticism, but the intent was clear. That afternoon, he left early. He couldn't do it anymore today. He picked up Oliver from Mrs. Brennan's house and took him to the park. They sat on a bench near the playground, watching other kids run and shout. Oliver leaned against him, quiet and warm, and for a few minutes, the world felt manageable again. "Dad," said Oliver softly, "do you like your job?" James looked down at him, surprised. "Sometimes. Why?" Oliver shrugged. "You just seem sad when you come home." James pulled him closer, resting his chin on top of Oliver's head. "I'm not sad, buddy, just tired, but I'm okay, I promise." Oliver didn't say anything, but he didn't pull away either. They sat like that until the sun started to set, casting long shadows across the grass. They wished they could stay there forever, away from the office, the rumors, the relentless pressure. But eventually, they had to go home.
That night, James received an email. It was from Victoria Hayes, sent at 9:47. The subject line was blank. He opened it, his heart pounding. "Mr. Carter, I am aware of the rumors circulating within the office. I will address this matter directly. Do not respond to this email." He read it 3 times, trying to parse her meaning. Was she going to shut down the gossip? Fire him to make it stop? He had no idea. But the fact that she'd acknowledged it at all meant something. He just didn't know what. The next morning, there was a notice posted on the company intranet. Mandatory all-staff meeting at 2 in the afternoon. No agenda listed, no explanation given. James's stomach dropped. This was it. Whatever Victoria planned to do, she was going to do it in front of everyone. At 1:55, the entire staff began filing into the main conference room. It was the largest space in the building, usually reserved for client presentations and board meetings. James found a seat near the back, trying to make himself invisible. Ryan sat 3 rows ahead, flanked by colleagues who kept glancing back at James and whispering. At exactly 2, Victoria Hayes entered the room. She wore a navy suit, her expression unreadable as always. She walked to the front, stood behind the podium, and surveyed the crowd. The room fell silent. "Thank you all for being here," she began, her voice calm and clear. "I've called this meeting to address a matter that has come to my attention over the past few days. It concerns workplace culture, professionalism, and the consequences of failing to uphold both." James's heart hammered in his chest. He kept his eyes on her, trying to read her face, but she gave nothing away. "There have been rumors," Victoria continued, her gaze sweeping the room, "regarding my relationship with one of our employees. These rumors are false. They are also damaging, not just to the individual involved, but to the integrity of this company." She let the words hang in the air for a moment. No one moved, no one spoke. "I want to be clear," she said, her tone hardening. "Gossip, slander, and baseless speculation have no place here. If I discover that anyone has been deliberately spreading false information about a colleague, that person will be terminated immediately. No warnings, no second chances." Ryan shifted in his seat, his smirk finally wiped away. Around the room, people exchanged nervous glances. Victoria's message was unmistakable. "Professionalism is not optional," she continued. "Respect is not negotiable. If you cannot adhere to these standards, you do not belong here." She stepped back from the podium, signaling the end of the meeting. For a moment, no one moved. Then slowly, people began to stand and file out. James stayed in his seat, waiting for the crowd to thin. When he finally stood, he saw Victoria watching him from the front of the room. Their eyes met across the distance, and she gave a single, almost imperceptible nod. Then she turned and left. The office felt different after the meeting. Not lighter, exactly, but quieter. The whispers hadn't disappeared entirely, but they had retreated into corners, exchanged in hurried glances rather than open conversations. James returned to his desk in silence. The whispers had stopped. On Friday afternoon, Victoria Hayes sent another email. This one had a subject line, "Performance Review Schedule." James's chest tightened as he opened it. The message was brief and professional, informing him that his annual review had been moved up by 2 weeks and would take place the following Monday at 9 in the morning. No explanation, no additional context. That weekend, he spent hours reviewing his work for the past year. He compiled reports, tracked his contributions to major projects, documented the times he'd gone above and beyond. It was tedious, exhausting, but necessary. If Victoria was looking for a reason to let him go, he wasn't going to make it easy for her.
Oliver noticed. On Saturday evening, as James sat at the kitchen table surrounded by papers, Oliver climbed into the chair beside him and rested his chin on his hands. "Are you in trouble at work?" Oliver asked, his voice small. James looked up, startled. "No, buddy. Why would you think that?" Oliver shrugged. "You've been working a lot, and you look worried." James set down his pen and pulled Oliver closer. "I'm not in trouble. I just have a big meeting on Monday, and I want to make sure I'm ready." Oliver studied him for a moment, his young face serious. "Is it with the lady you texted?" James blinked. He'd never told Oliver about the text, about Victoria, about any of it. But kids were sharper than people gave them credit for. "Yeah," James admitted quietly. "It's with her." Oliver nodded, as if that explained everything. "She sounds scary." James couldn't help but smile. "She is, a little. But you're not scared of her, right?" Oliver asked, looking up at him with wide, trusting eyes. James hesitated, then shook his head. "No, I'm not scared." It was only half true, but Oliver didn't need to know that. Monday morning arrived too quickly. James dressed carefully, crisp white shirt, his best tie. He dropped Oliver off at Mrs. Brennan's house early, then drove to the office in silence, his mind running through every possible scenario. By the time he reached the building, his hands were clammy, his heart racing. He arrived at Victoria's office at 8:59. Her assistant gestured for him to sit. He waited, staring at the closed door, watching the minutes tick by. At exactly 9, the door opened. Victoria stepped out. "Mr. Carter," she said, her tone neutral. "Come in." He stood and followed her inside. The office was larger than he'd expected, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Her desk was immaculate, not a single paper out of place. She gestured to a chair across from her, and he sat, trying to keep his posture straight, his expression calm. Victoria settled into her own chair and opened a folder on her desk. She scanned the contents briefly, then looked up at him, her eyes as cold and unreadable as ever. "Your performance over the past year has been consistently strong," she began, her voice matter-of-fact. "Your work is thorough, your deadlines are met, and your contributions to team projects have been noted by your supervisors."
James exhaled slightly, though he didn't let himself relax. Compliments from Victoria Hayes were rare, but they didn't necessarily mean safety. "However," she continued, and his stomach dropped, "there have been concerns raised about your conduct in recent weeks." He opened his mouth to respond, but she held up a hand, stopping him. "I am not referring to the rumors," she clarified. "I am referring to the way you have handled them. Several colleagues have reported that you have been withdrawn, uncommunicative, and visibly distressed during work hours." James's jaw tightened. Of course people had reported him. They always did. "With all due respect, Miss Hayes," he said carefully, "I think anyone would be distressed if they were being accused of something they didn't do." She regarded him for a long moment, her expression giving nothing away. Then she closed the folder and leaned back in her chair. "I agree," she said simply. The words caught him off guard. He stared at her, unsure how to respond. "The situation you were placed in was untenable," Victoria continued, "and while I addressed the broader issue publicly, I wanted to speak with you directly to ensure you understand that your position here is secure." James blinked. "It is?" "Yes." She folded her hands on the desk. "The rumors were baseless and damaging. I made it clear that such behavior will not be tolerated. You are not under investigation. You are not being reprimanded. This review is simply to confirm what I already know, that you are a valuable member of this company." Relief washed over him, so strong it was almost disorienting. He'd spent days convinced he was about to lose everything, and now she was telling him the opposite. "Thank you," he said, his voice rougher than he intended. "I appreciate that." Victoria nodded. "However, I do have one question." He tensed again. "Yes." "The text message," she said, her gaze steady. "You said it was meant for your son." James nodded. "It was. Oliver, he's 7. And you sent it during work hours because I miss him," James said quietly. "I drop him off early, pick him up late, and sometimes the days feel too long, so I text him, just to remind him that I'm thinking about him." For the first time since he'd met her, something shifted in Victoria's expression. It was subtle, barely noticeable, but it was there, a softening around the eyes, a faint easing of the line between her brows. "That's admirable," she said after a moment. "Being a parent while maintaining a career is not easy, especially alone." Victoria stood, signaling the end of the meeting. He rose as well, and she extended her hand. He shook it, her grip firm and professional. "Keep doing what you're doing, Mr. Carter," she said, "and if anyone gives you trouble, report it to HR immediately." "I will," he said. "Thank you." He left her office feeling lighter than he had in weeks. The weight that had been pressing down on him since that first misplaced text had finally lifted. He returned to his desk, logged into his computer, and got back to work. That evening, he picked up Oliver and took him out for dinner. They went to a diner Oliver loved, the kind of place with red vinyl booths and oversized milkshakes. Oliver ordered a cheeseburger and fries, and James watched him eat, feeling a contentment he hadn't felt in a long time. "Dad," Oliver said between bites, "are you happy now?" James considered the question. Was he happy? Not entirely, but he was closer than he'd been a week ago. "Yeah, buddy," he said, "I think I am." The next morning, James arrived at work to find a small note on his desk, not anonymous this time. It was signed by Victoria Hayes. The message was brief. "Your quarterly report was excellent. Well done." He folded the note and slipped it into his drawer, then turned to his computer and started the day. At lunch, James sat in his car again, but this time it wasn't to hide. It was just easier, quieter. He ate his sandwich, checked his phone, and found a message from Oliver. "Love you, Dad." James smiled and typed back, "Love you too, buddy. See you soon." That evening, after Oliver had gone to bed, James sat on the couch with a cup of coffee and thought about everything that had happened. The fear, the rumors, the uncertainty, but also the resilience, the refusal to let one mistake define him, the quiet strength of simply showing up day after day and doing the work. He pulled out his phone and looked at the last message he'd sent to Victoria, the one that had started it all. "I miss you." 3 simple words meant for his son that had somehow led him here. He didn't regret them, not anymore, because in the end, the message was true. He did miss Oliver, every moment they were apart, and that wasn't something to be ashamed of. It was something to be proud of. James set the phone aside, finished his coffee, and went to bed. Tomorrow would be another day, another chance to prove himself, another opportunity to be the father and the professional he wanted to be. And for the first time in weeks, he was ready for it.
For more videos, please subscribe, like, and comment.